Hello, in today's video I'm going to be doing something slightly different. I'm going to give you a scenario and I'm going to tell you how you should tackle that should the scenario ever arise. Before I do get into my content, if you do like my content, you know how to support me by now. You can do that by liking, commenting and subscribing. If you do want to click on an ad, that does help me out. I am very appreciative of the people who do help me. So without you guys, there isn't a channel. Now the scenario I'm going to pose is a scenario that I often get hit with myself. And the scenario is, should you sell for a loss when an opportunity arises? And if you are going to sell for a loss, what should you sell? Now, I often get approached for specialty stuff. And specialty stuff is where I make my money. Now, this is just an example. I actually pay for this in cash. However, it does happen often that people say, I've got this, and I'm looking at my coffers and I'm thinking, I don't have the money in the coffers. This is a 3-ounce platinum coin. It's a perfect kind of specimen to really talk about. I was offered this under spot. I managed to negotiate a deal which has paid off handsomely. The reason it's out, I've had this in my lockup. I've had these in my lockup as well, but I knew I was going to make a video. There was a gentleman who wanted to have a view at this locally, so I got it out. But if I don't have any money, I need to raise money quickly. And you've got to ask yourself, do you have anything in your stack that you can move on the spot? The answer is yes. Everything will go on the spot for the right price. So then it's a question of, well, if you're going to take a bit of a kick on the value, what do you sell so you can get ahead with this? Because you're only taking one step back to go maybe 2 or 3 steps forward. Now this for me, I knew when I bought it, it was a minimum of a £200 profit margin coin. It may be £500 now due to spot price going favourably. It may be slightly more if I can find a collector. So what do I want to sacrifice to buy a coin like that? Before you can see a variety of things. And I'm going to run through each one on what I wouldn't sell at a loss to purchase that. Now, there is going to be another coin set potentially, and it highlights the point I'm trying to make. I haven't bought it yet. I might have to sell some things for a loss. We shall see. That's why I've made the video, because it's relevant. And I've run out of coins. I've got no new coins. It's hard being creative. No, it's all right. Would I sell silver at a loss? The answer is no, I wouldn't, because I'm capped at the limit. Now, for most people, that doesn't really matter. So if you're an all person and you're not really worrying about that, you've only got to worry about capital gains, etc., then it's not so much an issue. Like if you're selling at a small loss to buy something with a big gain, that's perfectly fine. For me, it doesn't quite work, because if I'm selling at a loss, it really affects my earning potential over the year, because my average takes a bit of a kick in. Remember, I'm aiming to make 15% on the silver. That's the bare minimum I want to make, and if I'm selling at a loss, it really drastically affects how much I can make. So these are a no. I'm not gonna sell these for a loss for a specialty purchase. Would I sell something like this? Now, you could be arguing, well, Sean, it's okay. It's like semi-numismatic, and the truth is I wouldn't sell it. With coins like this, you wanna hold out for the right buyer. I personally think this is £800 worth of coin. There's going to be others saying, Sean, you're slightly over. I may be slightly over. But I'm in a position where I can kind of hold out. And I want to run a lean book. I want to run my book to the wire, because that's how you cram as much profit in as possible. Or at least that's how I work anyway. Other people might want a bit more flexibility. This would be a no. I'd want to get full value on this, so it wouldn't be a fire sale. Now, if I list it for the price I want and it sells, then great. However, if I'm quickly needing to raise cash, this will revert back to intrinsic value until there's a buyer. And it doesn't really work, because instead of taking one step back, I'm actually taking a bit of a small kicking on it because of how I buy. Now, if I was paying under spot, it doesn't really matter. You can ping off anything. That's the reality. But most people are not in that situation, and this channel is not geared towards professional dealers. Would I take a loss on small gold? No. Small gold always moves. You know, it may take a bit of time, but it'll always go, because the reality is most people can afford small gold. They like a bit of gold, and they can't always afford this type of stuff. Can't do it. Same for this. This is a PAMP 1 gram. I wouldn't be inclined to sell it. Firstly, it wouldn't raise enough money, and secondly, I think it's you shouldn't give away your best stock. You don't see many of these. I don't even know what this is. I've been trying to do some research on it, although loosely, I must admit, and it just doesn't really work, you know. Would I sell something like this? No, not a chance. This, I know many of you have said, oh, it's a blob of silver. There is a buyer out there for it. There will be a buyer who will pay the money I think it's worthy of. But I wouldn't want to fire sell it, because I think, if anything, these are the worst things. Because going back to my previous video about everything returning to intrinsic value, this will probably be the first thing that drops like a stone. If I have to fire sell it, it's not going to do very well, unless I get extremely lucky. But the chances are you're gonna do badly. What about this? This is a slightly nicer SOV. Again, I'd hold on to this. It's not something that I come across often. I do come across them, but not in this kind of condition. You know, in terms of what I want to sell to raise the money for this. And there are occasions where these big ticket items that I need a cash call for, they're going to cost me they're going to cost me £3,000. But there's juicy margins in them, you know, and there's a lot of profit locked in, and often there's kind of easy profit. I don't tend to get the specialty stuff in that is super niche, because it's hard to move, and I know that if you're paying wrong for it, it's going to bite you on the bottom. You might have guessed it by now. It's this stuff. Not this. This one I'll find a collector for. So this is 20 mark. I'll wait on that, because I just kind of like the coin. This stuff is bread and butter. Again, if I had some 20 francs, again, I'd sell them at a loss. That's not a problem. The pesos I'd sell for a loss if it was maybe 10 peso, 20 peso I wouldn't, 50 peso I wouldn't, because there's always going to be kind of buyers. It would be this stuff, because I can get this in consistently. And if I'm selling this for a loss, I know what I'm paying. I know what I pay is very lean. I know that if it is for a loss, it's only going to be a percentage point or so, because all I have to do is I have to lower it to intrinsic value until there's a buyer. Now, if I wanted to raise, say, £2,000-3,000, I'd just ping a load of these off. If I say, come on guys, I'm selling for spot, people are going to buy. Spot plus one, people will buy. Spot plus two, if you're fire selling, you need it quick, it might be a slight issue. Spot plus three, if you're, like, you could chance it at spot plus 3 or 3.5, and there might be a few buys, you might get away with it that way, but you will just lower it until you sell what you need. Now, if I'm paying spot and all things are equal, and I'm lowering it to spot, I'm not making a loss. Say spot drops 5% and I have to lower it, you know, I'm making a loss. It's going to be a few percentage points, but it's beneficial to buy something like this. So a percentage point on this is what, £3? So if I've got 10 of them, it's £30. If I'm making enough on this, this doesn't affect my VAT limit either. So if I sell 10 of these, I'm down a percentage point. Let's say 350. I'm down £35. I'm probably making a bit, saving a bit on the postage. However, this is when I get an opportunity like this, there's money loaded before I've even got it in my hand. I know, because that's how I tend to buy this type of stuff. I want to buy what other people would call a wedge deal, where the money's already in the coin, and you know it's kind of an easy flip. For me, I paid 40 on the spot at the time, and I bought it because I wanted to play on platinum. Now, there's going to be other opportunities. So, for example, I'm potentially getting a sovereign setting today or tomorrow. I need to raise funds. So what would I sell? I'd sell the sovereigns because I know that the profit's already loaded on the set. It's an easy move due to the year. I won't say what year it is. And it's not a difficult proposition for me because ultimately I understand that sometimes to move forward, you have to take a step back before you can run at it. So if I take a step back and then I'm gaining 3 steps, I'm happy. You know, I don't mind taking a loss on this because in the grand scheme of things, I can get lots of these in, and but I can't get lots of these in. And these are the difference between it being a good month and a great month. Whereas these not so much. These are bread and butter, and sure, they're going to add to the bottom line, but they don't have the same firepower, if that makes sense. I hope this video makes sense to you. It's slightly longer than planned. I was trying to make it about 8 minutes. If you do like my content, you know to support me by now. And yeah, like, comment, and subscribe. Bye.